accusations of corruption at the highest levels. The very latest on the GOP's investigation into President Joe Biden and his family's alleged influence peddling for a decade, as the DOJ focuses instead on President Trump. This week, House Republicans revealed Joe Biden's emails were when then Vice President used pseudonyms and alias names on emails with his son Hunter Biden about government business, with Hunter Biden copied on some emails about Ukraine during Joe's tenure as vice president. The emails, which included recipients or sender names such as Robert L. Peters or Robin Ware or J.R.B. Ware instead of Joe Biden, are raising questions as to whether the fake identities were an effort to mask Joe's involvement in Hunter's foreign business deals. In a letter to the National Archives, House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer is demanding that the administration turn over any document or communication in which a pseudonym for Vice President Joe Biden was used, included either as a sender, recipient, copied, or was included in the contents of the document communication. House Republicans are also asking why Hunter Biden was CC'd on any government emails pertaining to U.S. affairs with Ukraine. This all coming on top of what House Republicans say are 176 suspicious activity reports from Biden bank accounts, whistleblower testimony alleging bribery, and evidence that the House Republicans say prove the Biden family has taken in millions of dollars from foreigners in an influence peddling scheme while Joe was vice president. It also comes as House Republicans consider an impeachment inquiry into President Biden. I am told that impeachment inquiry will be announced when members return in September. Here's House Freedom Caucus Chairman Congressman Scott Perry with me this week on Mornings with Maria on Fox Business.
The American people need to know whether their president is crooked or not. That's the bottom line here. And whether it's bribery, in one case it was called extortion. We need to know. There's an election coming. He's the sitting president. Certainly he would want his name cleared, if anybody would, I would think. What is the $17 to $20 million that we currently know of coming from foreign countries, oligarchs, questionable individuals? What did that money pay for? What were those people paying for? What did they get in return?
Joining me right now in this Sunday Morning Futures exclusive is House Oversight Committee Chairman Congressman James Comer. Mr. Chairman, always a pleasure. Thanks very much for being here.
Good morning.
I want to get the state of affairs of your investigation, given we have a new special counsel now in the Hunter Biden investigation. But first, let's discuss these pseudonyms or alias names. What exactly have you learned?
Well, we've learned that Joe Biden used at least 3 pseudonyms or fake names in emails that he was receiving from people within the federal government, people that worked for him. And even more troubling than that, Maria, we've learned that when he was receiving emails pertaining to Ukraine, his son Hunter was copied on them, which we've always heard that the White House has said that Hunter Biden wasn't an employee of the government. He wasn't any part of the government. They couldn't understand why House Republicans on the Oversight Committee were investigating Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden because Hunter wasn't a part of the government. Well, if that were true, then why was he receiving emails from the government?
Well, this also pertains to the firing of the special prosecutor in Ukraine, Viktor Shokin. Was that what these emails were about? Because you have told us in the past that that was one decision you were looking at as far as a decision that Joe Biden may have been paid for to get involved in getting that prosecutor off the back of Burisma.
I think the evidence is mounting every day to prove that Joe Biden went to Ukraine for the sole purpose of firing Shokin, who was the Ukrainian prosecutor who was investigating his son for corruption. What we heard in the transcribed interview with Devin Archer was that he said that the owners of Burisma were squeezing Hunter, saying, we need help in Washington. You need to call Washington for help. Of course, the Democrats tried to say that, well, that could have been anybody in Washington. Well, what we've now learned is Joe Biden was using a fake email name to receive correspondence from his staff that he was copying Hunter Biden on. And I believe, Maria, that Hunter had to prove value to the Burisma owners that they were working on this, so he was forwarding those to the owners of Burisma. Look, this is obvious that Joe Biden abused his power as vice president for the sole purpose to protect his son, who was receiving millions and millions of dollars from this corrupt Ukrainian energy company. And this email ties Joe Biden and Hunter Biden into this corruption scheme without a shadow of a doubt.
Well, it also is quite interesting that Hunter Biden is even CC'd on any of these emails. This was government business, right?
This was 100% government business. Again, the Democrats in the White House have claimed that Hunter Biden and Joe Biden had a firewall between their business affairs. And again, Maria, as you know, there are no legitimate businesses here. The Biden family were receiving payments from bad people in bad countries around the world. And what we've been trying to do is figure out why. Why in the world would the Biden family receive over $20 million from foreign nationals around the world? And this is evidence to show that Joe Biden was communicating with his son. He was making sure that his son knew he was on his way to Ukraine. Remember, the timeline of these emails show that Joe Biden was en route from Washington to Ukraine for the sole purpose of withholding foreign aid to Ukraine in exchange for firing the prosecutor. And we know that happened. And we know Joe Biden accepted credit for it. He did an interview where he said, well, son of a bee, they fired the prosecutor before I got on the plane and left Ukraine. Joe Biden, in his own words, said that. So now we have evidence that Joe Biden and his administration was communicating with Hunter Biden. They knew Hunter Biden was affiliated with Ukraine. That's another lie, Maria. Joe Biden said he didn't even know Hunter was on the Burisma board for a long time. This is another lie. They were copying Hunter, and the only emails we've seen where they were copying Hunter were pertaining to Ukraine at a critical time when Joe Biden was going there to fire the prosecutor in exchange for foreign aid. That's called a quid pro quo, Maria, and that's very illegal, and it's more evidence that Joe Biden was front and center in this influence peddling scheme.
Well, you have uncovered so much for the public to understand here. You've told us that 9 family members were receiving wire payments money. You've told us that you've been able to identify $20 million at least of money taken in. I want to know if your information flow is about to get to a screeching halt, because they have a new special counsel on this investigation, David Weiss, who actually was the same person who tried to get immunity for Hunter just recently. So do you feel that you are about to see a change in terms of what you're able to uncover? And can you identify where this money was going? Are these all domestic accounts, or was there money overseas as well?
Well, first of all, we're about to find out whether the special counsel is going to interfere in our investigation, because we're headed to court. There are some bank records that we believe will tell a big story about what level of involvement not only Joe had with the business schemes, but how he benefited from the business schemes. So the Biden attorneys know exactly where we're headed with this investigation. They have lawyered up. I mean, they are building Fort Knox around these bank accounts that we're going to subpoena next. So we're headed to court, Maria, and we'll see if the special counsel shows up in court and holds their head up and says, Your Honor, there's no need in working with the House Oversight Committee, even though they've produced all this evidence that no one knew about before. We're now in charge. We're the special counsel, and we're in charge. How ironic would that be, Maria, considering that less than 2 weeks after a judge threw out U.S. Attorney Weiss's blanket immunity for Hunter Biden, he gets appointed special counsel and supposedly, in the eyes of the Department of Justice, is now the lead investigative agency with respect to Hunter Biden. The House Oversight Committee, for all practical purposes, has been the special counsel over the past 6 months, and we'll continue to do our work and continue to be transparent with the American people about the evidence that we're uncovering every day.
So you've been able to get your hands on some bank accounts and these important information in terms of money flows, but now you're zeroing in on just a few more bank records, and you're wondering if you're going to have access to those. You think those bank records, these final 2 or 3 or 4 bank records that you're suggesting, they are going to tell you how the money was moving within the Biden family?
We know, talking to the banks, that they're under considerable pressure not to cooperate with us. I've been saying for months, Maria, that we are facing obstruction like has never been demonstrated in the history of congressional investigations. Not only are we being obstructed by the Biden legal team, we're being obstructed by the Department of Justice, we're being obstructed by the FBI, by the Secret Service, by the IRS, by the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee. And the next question is, will we be obstructed by the new special counsel, David Weiss? investigating this. We have produced, with every subpoena we've issued, we have produced more new damaging evidence of Joe Biden's involvement in his family's influence peddling schemes. And we believe the next bank records that we're going to subpoena will tell a whole lot bigger story about how involved Joe Biden was in this Biden influence peddling scheme or Biden corruption.
And I know you just want a 30-day period from the National Archives to get the information about those emails where Hunter was CC'd on. That was the time when Hunter Biden was getting squeezed by Burisma to get the prosecutor fired, to the time that actually the prosecutor was fired. When is the deadline to get that information to your committee? This week?
I think we gave them 5 business days, so somewhere around Wednesday of this week, it will be the deadline. We expect National Archives to cooperate with our investigation. We don't need to prove the purpose of this investigation. I think everybody knows now.
And real quick before you go, Congressman, I know you said that we are waiting for this information, and you have identified 20 shell companies where money was going. But are there only domestic accounts, or are there overseas accounts that Biden has?
We've heard a report from a whistleblower that there are overseas accounts, and we're going to be working with the Ways and Means Committee to try to get those overseas accounts. But I'll close with this, Maria. You think about Joe Biden was using a fake name for his email correspondence with respect to what he was about to do in Ukraine. How ironic is the guy that uses a fake name with his government email accounts is the same guy whose family has 20 fake companies to launder money from foreign nationals in adversarial countries to his family members. I mean, this fits a pattern of deception by the Biden family. We're going to continue to get the facts out to the American people.